In this video, I will demonstrate grafting a cast-on edge to a bind-off edge using Kitchener stitch. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. If you enjoy this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you get a notice each time I go live or post a new video. So grafting a cast-on edge to a bind-off edge is very similar to regular Kitchener stitch, where you are closing the toe of a sock, for example. But those instances, you are grafting a bind-off edge to a bind-off edge, and there's an offset of 1 stitch. But when you are grafting a cast-on edge to a bind-off edge, for example, to work a cowl and close it up to, so you're working it horizontally and you are seaming it at to close the tube, there is no offset by 1 stitch because the cast-on edge is being grafted to the bind-off edge. Therefore, the setup steps for working this type of graft are a little bit different than in what we consider normal Kitchener. I have a cable piece. I used a provisional cast on of just using waste yarn and working a row and then beginning my pattern. And I'm at the last row and I'm ready to graft. So first I need to pick up my stitches along the provisional cast on edge. In order to have the right number of stitches, I need to get that last half stitch right there. So you may notice that these are appearing to be a half a stitch. This is what is going to allow that graft to be seamless at the end, as opposed to grafting a bind-off edge to a bind-off edge. Then I will cut my waste yarn and remove the provisional cast on. There we go. So I've gotten my provisional cast on stitches onto a needle, and you need to make sure you have 1 more stitch on that needle than on the bind off edge stitches. So pick up a half a loop on one end in order to get 1 more stitch on this needle. Now this Kitchener grafting method works a little bit differently because you've got stitches that appear as half knits and half purls. So those you are going to need to treat a little bit differently. So the back needle is my provisional cast on with one more stitch than the front needle. I'm going to use a contrasting color yarn to do this seaming so you can see what is happening, but the setup for this is a little bit different. You will go purlwise into the first stitch on the front needle and leave on, and then you will go purlwise into the first stitch on the back needle and take off. Now, everywhere there are stitches that you know what they are, they're not these half stitches, then you work just like a regular Kitchener. And I like to use the same off, opposite, on. So this is a knit stitch, same as a knit stitch is to knit, so I will knit off. Opposite of this knit stitch is a purl, so I will purl and leave on. Moving to the back, same as a purl, so I will purl off. Opposite of a purl is a knit, so I will knit and leave on. Same, off, opposite, on. Knit off, purl on the front. Purl off, knit on the back. I have some more knit stitches, so knit off, purl on, purl off, knit on, keeping that seaming yarn under those needles. Knit off, purl on, purl off, knit on. Well, here is that transition stitch, so I'm going to knit on right now, and then knit off. And the next stitch is a purl. The opposite of a purl is a knit, so I will knit and leave on. Now this back stitch, the front half, or the right half, was a purl. The left half is a knit. So opposite of a knit is a purl. Well, same off. So back here it is now presenting as a knit. So I will knit and take off. And then the next stitch is a knit stitch. So I will purl and leave on. You have to treat these back transition stitches kind of as half and half. So up here is a purl, purl and take off. The next one's another purl, so I will knit and leave on. Back here is a knit, and then the right half of another knit, so I will knit and take off, purl and leave on. There's a purl, so purl and take off, and then there's a knit. So opposite of a knit is purl, so I purl and leave on. Back here, then we had this transition stitch. The right half is a knit, the left half is a purl. So I need to do the same to take off, so I will purl and take off. Then opposite and leave on. So this is a purl, opposite is a knit, I will knit and leave on. Up here, knit, take off, purl, leave on. Back here, purl, take off, knit, leave on. Back to the front, knit, take off. Now here's a purl, so I will knit and leave on. Back here was a transition stitch. It was a purl, now it's a knit. And the reason I can tell that is this side is purling and this side is knitting. So I need to treat it now like a knit stitch to take it off. So I will knit and take off. And then opposite of a knit stitch is a purl. So I will purl and leave on. Now I've got a bunch of purl stitches. So those are purl, knit, on. And back here is a bunch of knit stitches. So those are knit, off, purl, on. Purl, off, knit, on. 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 Knit off. This is a half of a knit stitch, so I will purl and leave on. This is a purl, purl, take off. Now this is a knit, so opposite of a knit is a purl, so I will purl and leave on, keeping that yarn under. Now back here was a transition stitch. It was a knit and now it's a purl. So to take it off, I need to purl it off. And then opposite of a purl is knit, so I knit and leave on. Now up here I knit off and purl on. Back here is a purl, purl, off, and it's half a purl, half a knit. So right now it's a purl, so I will knit and leave on. Up here it's a knit stitch, knit. Now a purl stitch opposite of a purl is a knit, so knit and leave on. Back here it's a purl and a knit. Right now to take it off it's a knit, so I knit it and take it off. And the next is a knit, opposite of a knit is a purl, I purl and leave on. Here's 2 purl stitches, right? So purl, take off, knit and leave on. And a knit and a half a knit, right? So knit and take off, and right now it's a knit, so I purl and leave on. This is a purl, purl to take off. Now it's a knit, opposite of a knit is a purl, so purl and leave on. Now this was a knit, now it's a purl, so to take it off, I purl, take it off. Purl opposite of a purl is a knit, I knit and leave on. Now it should be smooth sailing because it's nothing but knits and nothing but purls. So knit off, purl on, purl off, knit on, knit off, purl on, purl off, knit on, knit off, purl on, try not to lose those stitches, purl off, knit on, oops, knit, stay on, knit off, purl on for that last stitch there, purl off, knit on, try and maintain like so, and then you will knit and take off, and you will drop that back stitch like so. Now, this is very loose right now, but you can see all the stitches are maintained. So I will tighten up across the row. Can be a little difficult in the transition spots to tighten. But there it is across half of it anyway, and so you can see now that the pattern is maintained across that graft. It is virtually seamless. So the key with this method is have that extra stitch on the back provisional cast on needle when you pick up the live stitches. Start with the modified setup row, setup steps to begin by inserting the needle purlwise into the first stitch on needle 1 and leave on the needle. Insert purlwise into the first stitch on the back needle and take off, and into the next stitch on this back needle knitwise and leave on, and then begin your Kitchenering across. Treat those transition stitches that are from the provisional cast on as half of one stitch and half of the other as they are presenting as you work the graft across. If this is too tricky, it is quite complicated, so if this is too tricky for you, make sure to watch my visible grafting video. I'll link to it right here, and that might be an easier way to do this kind of grafting. There's the finished, cleaned up graft. So that was grafting a cast-on edge to a bind-off edge using a modified Kitchener stitch. I hope this was helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.